Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's workshop. This is Esther. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, madam. Thank you.
At this junction, let us just dive into why we're here. Mrs. Esther, we're coming to you. I hope you're ready for us. I'm going to be introducing you in a minute. And she's our speaker for today. The title of this workshop is The Publishing Deal That Works for You. I'm not going to say anything about the topic. I'm going to let the speaker do justice to it. So if you're ready for us, can I hand over the program to you so that you can take us for the next 40 minutes?
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you for the very concise, precise introduction over them. Just a little extra. I started the publishing journey when I was in my final year in University of Lagos. I started out more like an editor. That's where I started from. But I just knew that there was going to be more. But starting out with little or no funds, I just and little by little we began to grow. Added transcription to it, translations, and then we eventually grew to the point where we became a full-fledged publishing firm. So it's been over 17 years. I was on my LinkedIn page yesterday and I saw 17 years. I was like, wow, it's been a long time. And over this number of years, I've seen the publishing industry change. I've seen it metamorphosize in different dimensions, and I'll be talking from all that throughout this discussion. So the agenda for today, I'll just run us through it. We'll do it just a basic introduction, which has already been done. We'll talk about the types of publishing deals, tips for negotiating a good deal, and then the evolution of the publishing industry. Let's move on to the next slide now. Okay, so I already undo that. The next page is the introduction. Can we move on there? Okay, thank you very much. So basically, aside publishing, running a publishing firm, we're also standing as a publishing consultant to high profile authors. So some people just say, we have the setup, we have the same, I just need you to come in and put it together give direction to my team. And we also function in such circles. And then of course, Navigating with All is a mentoring organization that we work with. I also manage Coach B and Stewards as their Director of Admin and Operations. These are just a few of the things to do. So running quickly to the third slide, every other thing that I think as we sorted out, let's go to types and trends of publishing. That will be the third slide now. Types and trends. Now, one of the first things people want to ask is, why do I need a publishing service? Do I need a publishing service? Who are the people who need to publish? And that's where I'll be starting from. One of the first set of people who need publishing services, if you're a writer, you're an author, you need to publish. Don't keep to yourself the things God has put inside of you. You need to put it out there for people to see. Companies need to be published. Companies need to put out what they're doing, what they intend to do. They need to put it out there. They also need publishing services. Ministers and religious leaders are the ones who need it the most because they are constantly having speaking engagement. They need to also put their things out there. Their knowledge base needs to be shared with people. And then, of course, educationists and counselors, anyone in the education space also needs to put knowledge out there. So if you happen to be in any of these circles, you're someone who shares knowledge consistently, then you need to be published. You need to publish a book. You need to be a publisher, whichever space you would like to work in. By the time I'm done with this presentation, you would know if you should actually go into full publishing as an author or if you should just use an hybrid service of some sort. So let's talk about the types and trends. When publishing started, it started out as traditional publishing. So traditional publishing is such that you submit your manuscript, you use a literary agent. A literary agent is someone who has contact with publishing firms and who goes over there to say, okay, I have an author who wrote an amazing manuscript, an amazing story. Would you publish the author? So for a traditional publishing, you are at the mercy of the publisher. So the publisher can say, no, I don't want this story, or no, we are not focused on this particular type of story, try again, or no, your story is just terrible, no, we don't want it. You are at the mercy of the publisher. And that was what used to happen there. And then you get a royalty if they accept your book, and it could take as many as a year to 3 years to finally get your book out. That's traditional publishing. And they pay you a particular sum in advance to let you know that, okay, now we're taking you up as our author. And then when the book is published, they begin to pay you royalties on publishing of the book. Now, the second type of publishing, which has now become the mainstream publishing now, publishing type now is self-publishing. So self-publishing then comes in two types. Number one, either you are using a self-publisher, which is a publishing firm, or two, you are actually taking it up as yourself to become your own publisher, an independent publisher. So that's self-publishing. And many people right now, that's the space they play. And that's even for a couple of reasons, because the book industry, the book reading industry has also changed. People are no more buying books as they used to. People are not reading as they used to. The reading culture is dying. So because of that, many publishing firms are moving away from traditional publishing and saying that they're investing so much, and over a period of time, they've gained a little result. So they go to self-publishing, where the author determines the quality of output he or she wants. So he says, okay, I have 1.5 million naira. I want to publish a book. I need it to be this quality. They say, yes, this is what you get to this. This is what this will cost. And then the author pays for it. So the self-publishing journey is a paid for journey where the author determines how it goes. So of course, there are advantages and disadvantages to it. One of the advantages is you don't have to wait for 3 years to publish your book. Once you know it, once you are ready, you write the book, you can get an editor, a designer, and everyone who needs to be on the same, and your book is out. However, the flip side is you can then be publishing low quality content and nobody's watching, nobody's checking, nobody is calling your attention to it. And that's something that will never happen in traditional publishing. The publishers, the editors will call you out, they will strike a shot, they will make your manuscript bleed. That's what we call it. They will make your manuscript bleed. For in self-publishing, if you insist and tell the editor, I want this particular word spelled this way, the editor will just say, okay, and leave it there. So those are the cons of self-publishing. And then we'll talk about this self-publishing because now we're in this age and time we're in. Many people are then saying, okay, I just don't want to have my books printed as printed versions. I want it to go around the world. And of course, in this age and time of the internet, everybody's going online, ebooks are coming up, and everyone is publishing. So many people who can't even afford to print their books are self-published online, and they are making money from it. So that's digital publishing. And then number 4, audiobooks. That's the next amazing thing that has been happening for a while. Coming to Africa, it's relatively new. But audiobook publishing is something that's also that has also helped authors make a lot of money, because when they put their books, when their books are printed or published digitally, they convert them to an audio version, and people who don't have time to sit with a book can play them in the car, play them in the kitchen while cooking, play them at any time and at every time, and it works for them. So audiobooks, if you're here and you don't have an audiobook, you need to start considering, okay, I need to get an audiobook done, because there's a particular size of market that you are losing by not having an audio version of your book. And then, of course, in all this, it still falls into three categories. So there are times where you interface with your publisher and it ends up with a book-only contract. You publish a book and walk away. But some of those books can actually be converted to film. So that's when you have a book and a film contract, And then there's also a book and a TV contract, a TV reality show. And also how far you want to go with your book is to a large extent dependent on how much you're willing to invest in it in this self-publishing age. So let's talk about some trends. Artificial intelligence, people use artificial intelligence now for writing and publishing. You see people saying, I wrote my book, I used artificial intelligence to write a book, and that's what I'm doing now. And if you've not tried that also, I think you should try artificial intelligence for writing. Yes, I know it feels like you are not having that personal touch to it, but it's also a part of it, because if you understand what ghostwriting is, to a large extent, you cannot have a personal touch in a ghostwriting process. So if you view artificial intelligence with those through those lenses, then it will feel better. Now, number 2 is audio-visual format. Now that people are going digital, you have the space, you have the opportunity to play with your content as much as you want. So you're looking at augmented reality, virtual reality. Now look at what metaverse, Facebook is doing with metaverse. People are saying, okay, come into our world and be who you want to be in our world. That's what people are doing with their ebooks now, using audiovisual formatting trends. Now, one quick example in that regard is if you have a book, an audio book, and you say, okay, wear a headset, and while the person is reading the book, it can actually hear, if for instance, you're talking about someone is walking by the seashore, and then this person can hear the seagulls cawing away. This person can hear the waves eating at the shore. This person can hear everything, and even go as far as perceive the smell. There are headsets that help you perceive the smell. They toy with your senses, and then it makes you feel like you're really, really there. So depending on how far you want to go, these are trends that you can use to engage more people. Get more and more people are looking at escaping from this world, escaping from the economic troubles, escaping from whatever it is that is happening, and they're looking for a safe haven. If you can create that with your book, you're going to have a lot of people following you, a lot of people coming to buy your book. And then, of course, I mentioned self-publishing already, looking at book summary platforms. Now, for book summary platforms, we also come to realize that people do not like to read. It's everywhere. The problem is everywhere. So what they do with Blinkist and MentorBox is that they take major books and summarize it and then put them out for sale. So instead of me sitting to read a 430-page book, I can have the summary in 10 pages, and I've gotten all the core points from the book, and I'm good to go. So if you can also consider that, instead of putting too many words to get in your book that makes it bulky, consider summarized versions, and that also is a good way to make money. And of course, the dearth of bookstores. How many of you have walked into a bookshop? That's what we call it here. A bookshop recently. Many of the bookshops are losing customers because more and more people are moving to digital copies. More and more people are reading books online, and fewer people are coming to bookstores to say, I want to pick a book, or I'm looking for a particular author. Now, there are very few people I've been able to interface with such kind of unique, I call them unique people over the years, who desire to have a book in their hand. They want to feel the paper. They want to hold it. They want to flip the pages themselves. Now, those people are very few, so you can't write for those people. You have to write for the growing population of people who are reading online and getting their books over there. And then, of course, number 6, a strong marketing strategy. If that is what is winning right now. In those days, when you publish, you take a book directly to the bookstore. You start looking for all the bookstores in Lagos, in Nigeria, and then look at international distribution to put your book. But right now, okay, yes, I can see that comment. For children, physical books are most relevant. Absolutely. However, if you go audio-visual, as I said, the metaverse, many children are losing themselves over there. How about you shaping their lives by creating a world that you believe is the best world they should be in? So yes, well, physical books, children love physical books, but you know what we are saying. Many of our kids, in those days, as a child, it was difficult handling a phone. But nowadays, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old would maneuver your phone t-shirt, would scatter your phone for you and put it back together. So you still need to take advantage of it. So yes, they do a lot of physical work, but the children that are coming up now are losing themselves into gadgets, into games, into a metaverse, and the old host of them. So I was talking about strong marketing strategy. And I was saying in those days, we used to look for bookstores to put our books. And then when we put it there, we now start telling people, I have my book, I have my book. But right now, that is no more, but that's no more the case. If you publish your book today and you put your book in a bookstore right away, you're putting the earth before the cart. Okay, so you're putting the cart before the earth. Yes, that's appropriate. You're putting the cart before the earth because nobody is going to walk into your bookstore to look for a new author. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows what you've written about. There's no, I can guarantee that nobody walks into the bookstore to say, hello, give me the book written by Esther Dumbiri. No. But if I was a Chimamanda, everybody has known me, I'm popular, you've seen me online a couple of times. You can walk into a bookstore and then say, please, do you have the book by Chimamanda? I would like to pick it up. So now you have to be looking at how to reach people on the screen. That will be your first thing as an author. How do I reach people on their screens? How do I stand in their faces and stare them in their faces every day and get their attention? It has to be through strong marketing strategy, either by email, by social media adverts, and a host of other auto optimization strategies that we usually put out there. So no more putting the cart before the horse. In this day and time, your strong marketing strategy has to start online and not offline. By the time you begin to have 100 people, 20 people from a particular location saying, please can I have a copy of your book? Please can I get this book? You can then say, okay, now, what is the nearest bookshop to those people and take like 100 copies, 200 copies, go drop it in that bookshop. And when people call you, you can say, okay, go to the nearest bookshop. We have copies of my book there. Go and pick it up there, and then you can pay for it. So that's when bookstores then become relevant to you. But if you've not done that, you should avoid going around to bookstores and instead invest in digital marketing, a strong marketing strategy. So can we have the next slide? And I would like to know, and still people are following, please type in the chat box which of the trends or types of publishing that you're familiar with, which one you like, which one you don't like. I'd like to know that you're following. So while I wait for comments, I'm waiting for comments. So while I wait for comments, I'll go on. Oh yes, I like the audio visual trend. Thank you very much, Yuri. That's absolutely. If you're with the audio visual, you catch a lot of audience jumping on it. So yes, please do. You'll catch a lot of audience that you have not even you didn't even imagine were available to you before now. So and this next slide is just to show you a graphical representation of how much audiobooks, the searches for audiobooks have grown over the years. And this is a rise of 140% over the last 15 years. So if you are not getting your chunk of cake from this sector, you are missing out. You need to have an audiobook out there that people can also buy. But let's move on to the next slide, please. Now on the next slide, we begin to see the bestsellers for 2022, and we see that many of them are audiobooks relevant. Okay, let me take that question, please. Okay, are audiobooks relevant in children markets as well, or just young adults? Absolutely, audiobooks are relevant in children markets as well. However, the difference with that is that if you're giving them an audiobook, you will be mixing that with some level of physical materials they can touch, they can look at, they can feel. That's very important. Remember that children have low attention span. So while you're giving them audio book, except it is audio visual, you will need to put together a physical copy of your book that they can work with. So while they are flipping the pages, they are listening to the music in the background, they are listening to your voice, reading the pages, reading the words to them. And if you look at it to a large extent, it will also help their reading ability, because when I'm reading something to you, I'm saying something to you and you're reading it at the same time, you get to grab the words, connect the words very quickly. So yes, to a large extent, it will help children. It would help their vocabulary to help them very well. Okay, so we go on to the bestsellers of 2022, and we see that if you see, there are a lot of children's books also in bestsellers, selling as much as 482,000 units. That's quite a lot. But of course, you see, it came from Random House. That's a traditional publishing firm. And then many of the other ones you see there are they're independent publishers. So you kind of like go pay something, get them to publish your book, and then they get it out there. So yes, a lot of people in the children's world, you can make a lot of money selling your book if you can only follow the best marketing strategy to put you out there. And just as I said, combining all these different methods would help put you in front of other people who can then hear what you hear and see what you're doing. Please, if you're still with me, please type yes in the chat box so we can move on quickly to the next slide. So we've been talking a lot, and my next slide is motivational. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Thank you very much, Harry. I can see you. Quit talking and start doing. So let's move on. Let's stop talking now and go into some more practical level of knowledge on this. So choosing the right publishing deal. Now, how do you choose the right publishing deal? That's where we're going. How do I know that this publishing deal is the best for me? Now, the first thing you need to note is that the best publishing deals depends on what you want to achieve as an author. So if you want to achieve bestseller status, or whatever you want to achieve, you just want to be known as a knowledge, someone who has knowledge in that field. Depends on what you want to achieve. So some people say, okay, I just want my book out there for posterity's sake, so people know that I have a book out there. Someone says, I want my book on every table in every family house in Nigeria. The two of them will run differently. The two of them will approach publishing differently. So to a large extent, before you go publishing as an author, you have to sit back and say, okay, what is my goal for publishing? What do I want to do? Why am I going this route? You need to be clear on your expectations concerning publishing. And then of course, the timeline of the publishing cycle, it goes from the manuscript to the ebook delivery, that's the preprint. And then we have the print, which is quality of print based on variables involved. And then the marketing and promotion, which includes author brand optimization, placement of books, paid adverts, and other activities. So this is the timeline, this is a summary of the whole process of the publishing cycle. So let's go on to the slide that says tips for negotiating a good publishing deal. Now, for many years, it's been a case of the big five. The big five are called the big five because they are like the five major publishing firms that have ruled the publishing industry for so long. HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Macmillan, Archer, Penguin, Random House. As you can see, Random House also featured on the 2022 bestseller list. Now, this used to be the best, any author who did publish with them usually felt like I'm missing out. But now things are different. And when you want to talk to a publisher, remember I said right now we are more about self-publishing with an independent publisher or as a publisher yourself. So if you're looking at the publisher, you want to look at the publisher's reputation. Has this person had any scandal over the years? Is there any news pointing to this person saying this person didn't fulfill their promise to me? Are their authors happy with their work? Then while you're looking at all that, you're looking at traction. Who are the people they published for? It doesn't necessarily have to be it doesn't necessarily have to be famous people, but they should be at least people that you can see online and say, okay, this person has published for this person and that person. Now, you also want to look at the types of books they publish. There are some publishers who don't publish Christian material. There are some who don't publish fiction. There are some who publish only non-fiction. You want to be sure of, okay, I'm bringing my manuscript to you. I want you to publish this for me. I need to know if you publish the genre of book I am bringing to the table. And then, of course, the contract terms. Over the years of publishing, I've had authors who came to me with an agreement from different publishing houses. And some of the things that raise a red flag is when a publishing house tells you that you're paying for everything and they own all the copyrights. That's terrible. So you need to read their contract terms and be clear about it. If you are self-publishing, you own the full rights to your book. You own the profits to your book, except of course if it's an hybrid kind of thing where you pay an advance, then they go ahead to publish the whole book and they tell you the share royalty. But whatever the case, you need to be clear you need to say about your contract terms with this person. If anything bothers you, if there's too much gibberish in it that you can't decipher, get a lawyer to go through it and explain them to you. But if it's not clear, you could be walking into a trap. You don't know if your book is going to be a bestseller, and this publisher is saying we have all the rights. You can't print somewhere else. You can't get another publisher to work on it because we are the only publisher. You can't take your soft copy anywhere. We won't give you. These are things that we've seen happen with many authors. So you want to be clear on the contract terms. Will they favor you in the long run? Then the availability of services they render. What are they going to do in the whole journey? So are they going to also edit? Are they going to design? Will they get your ISBN? Will they get your barcode? Will they register you for cataloging? Will they print for you? What quality of print? And you need to be clear on what your expected. This is where they say, okay, but we did say we're going to edit your book. And then the author goes, but this is supposed to be a part of the whole process. So you want to be sure that, okay, these are the services they're rendering, and these are the things I'm comfortable with from them. And then you also talk about availability of samples, request for samples. Say, okay, can I see a copy of the book that you've done? And they can direct you, okay, go to social bookshop or reach out to social author, tell them you need a copy of the book, and they'll send them to you. Please, as much as possible, I should put here that a sign, remote working, having an office or not having an office is not a sign of a good publisher. Coronavirus did something to us that we didn't expect. It sent us to remote working. So many publishers work and say, because you do not have a publishing house that can walk into, it means you are not a good publisher. Please, I beg to disagree. You can have a good publisher work remotely. And of course, if this thing works, because for someone like our company, we publish for people in the US, in the UK, in Canada, they don't come to the office to check you out. They can't even come to Nigeria. They just tell you, publish and send our books to us, and we do. So if, for instance, that person was there looking for a walk-in store, it would have actually ruled us out as a good publishing firm. So please, that doesn't count. Office or no office does not count as to whether someone, a publisher is good for you or not. Now let's come to you as an author. How can you negotiate a good publishing deal? Number one, your manuscript has to be fail-proof. You must have written something very, very amazing. Something that any publisher will say, please don't leave me. I want your manuscript. So, and then to get that to happen, you must step out of yourself as an author and say, okay, I've written this thing, give it to an independent person and someone with fresh eyes and say, can you critique this thing I've written? And be open to accepting corrections, open to accepting whatever reviews they give you. So that is the only way. By the time you send it to 3-4 people and they are saying the same thing concerning what you've written, then you know it's something you should attend to, or that means you're on your way to success as an author. So if you do not have a winning manuscript, you can't negotiate a good deal with the publisher. You can't tell the publisher, you see this thing I'm bringing out, I know this is self-publishing, but if you print it for me, if you publish my book, I can promise you that we'll have 100,000 copies next. And then the publisher says, okay, I would rather forfeit my profit now and publish for you so that you can bring in 100,000 copies as reprint, because that's where I'll get my profit. But if the publisher looks at your manuscript and feels like, what is this? It will just charge you with its profits involved and tell you this is how much you're charging, either you take it or leave it. So your bargaining power starts with your manuscript. It's very important that your manuscript is to a large extent. Don't take your manuscript to a publisher without proofreading it. Don't do that. It reduces the whole bargaining power that you have. Because when the publisher starts saying we need a lot of developmental edits to make this work, it's charging you, it's going to charge you for it, and then you might not get the best deal available. Number two, be clear about your expectations. What do you want from the publisher? Oh, publisher, I want you to do this. I want you to edit, proofread, do this, design, register. Be clear. Check your contract terms against your expectations and be clear that both of you are speaking the same language. Number three, you could grow your team. So if, for instance, you say, okay, I want to become a self-publisher, printing under my own label, then you need to grow a team. You need to say, okay, if I'm bringing in a publishing consultant to help me through the process, I want to be able to tell the publishing consultants that I have a team of editors, designers. I just need you to put them through and tell them what to do. Of course, by the time you're done with that, what you'll be paying the consultant will be way lesser than what you would have paid him or her if it was a full publishing deal you're trying to get. And then, of course, know your market. Some things won't sell in Nigeria. Don't just bother. Some things won't sell. So, but however, there are some topics, there are some titles that would sell. So you want to be sure of which one is selling and which one you are going for. So you need to know your market before you approach your publisher. How are people buying books in this topic line? So for instance, right now, books about sexual abuse amongst child abuse amongst children, emotional abuse are trending. So if as an author, if you put together a book that teaches a child how to protect his or her body, it is a book that will sell. If you put together a book of puzzles, we have a particular author, she's printed over 12,000 copies of her books already. It's a puzzle book for children, a Christian puzzle book, poems and puzzles. That's something that's constantly moving because children like puzzles. She's doing the second edition as we speak. And it's moving because that's something that children want to read about. So you need to know your market, know what works in your market and what you need to put out there so that you can make a lot of sales. So let's move on to the next slide, differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing. I'll just run through this very quickly because I'm running out of time. Okay, so as I mentioned, self-publishing, it comes with you deciding to take up the publishing journey either under your own imprint as you being a publisher, or you working with an independent publisher and saying, okay, I want to publish under your imprint, but I still have total rights on what I'm doing. So I mentioned this before. This is the fastest growing industry in the publishing space, and if you embrace intelligent automation, you can continue to stay relevant. So what is intelligent automation? Those are some of the things I mentioned before: audio, visual, audio books, and a host of others that I mentioned before. Now, if you look at distribution for self-publishing and traditional publishing, it's the same, but the opportunities are different. For traditional publishers, they have their network of bookstores that they could push your books into. They have their network, they built it over the years. So they have more opportunities than you will get as a self-publisher. However, if that's not a factor for you, then you can still go on with self-publishing. Royalty rates. In self-publishing, if you publish on Amazon, you can get royalties as high as 50 to 60%. However, for traditional publishers, you don't get more than 12.5%. You don't. So it's then left for you to say, and then you don't have full rights to your book. No, it's the publishers who's handling it that has full rights to your book. They determine what you do. They tell you what they want. If your title, they don't like your title, they tell you to change it. And there is nothing you can do with traditional publishers. Now look at cost to publish. Under full self-publishing, as I said before, is budget-based. You determine how much you want to spend, what you want to spend it on. But under traditional publishing, once they take you up, you don't have to spend anything. Instead, they pay you and they give you royalties over time. Now, duration of the process. If you read your manuscript today, you can publish today as a self-publisher. It doesn't take much. Go online, register for an account with Amazon, do what you need to do there, and then put it up there. And then you have about 3 years if you're working with traditional publishers. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, the quality of output is very important when it comes to self-publishing. Many authors put a lot of low quality content out there, which is not good. I'll run quickly now to the evolution of the publishing industry. In 5 minutes, I'll try to take that. Now, the publishing industry, as I said, the future is self-publishing.
5 minutes. Okay.
Yes. It's 5 minutes.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So the evolution of the publishing industry is self-publishing, but there are different ways you can make this happen. You either do it yourself, you build your brand, get your team, get your vendors, editors, designers, register a company, build your email list. That's your do-it-yourself kind of self-publishing. Or you do it with me. You get a publishing consultant to come up with you, have book planning sessions with you, and do marketing and publicity strategies with you. They tell you what to do. They coach your people, your team. They work with you. They help you set up the team you need, walk you through the process, but you still handle all the bills. You just pay for the consultant and then still handle all your bills for self-publishing. And then the third one is the budget-based publishing, where you say, do it for me. I don't want to have a headache over how the editor is working, how the designer is working, how the printers are messing up my book. I don't want to know. I just want you to do everything for me. That's to do it for me package. So these are the 3 models people are following now. You want to be able to say, okay, which one of these models will work best for me? Now, if you go on to the next slide quickly, Stripe Media is one of the best publishing firms in the US, and they offer a range of all these things I just showed you. So they do it yourself, do it with me, and do it for me packages. And you can see from the screen, which is Stripe Media, the next screen, you can see that there are a lot of things that you can achieve depending on remember where I started from, know your goal as an author. So in summary, when we talk about the best publishing deal for you, you talk about number 1, define your publishing goals. Know what you want to achieve. Number 2, your budget matters. You can't desire to have a do-it-for-me package and you can't afford it. No, your budget determines what you get. And then, of course, set yourself up for success. Write a great manuscript. Learn about your field. Learn about what's happening out there. Know what things you can write on that will help make money, that people would generally run towards. And then, of course, choose wisely. Many times authors rob Peter to pay Paul. They think, okay, I don't want to pay a publishing consultant or a do-it-for-me package. Let me do it myself. And in the long run, they end up spending more than they should have. I would like to round up by saying that's the final. I would like to round up by saying, if you've published more than 3 or 4 books, you should actually be working with a publishing consultant to set yourself up as a publisher. That means that the things you're doing for yourself, you can begin to replicate the same for others and also make money from it. So if you've done more than 3, 4 books, it's time to set yourself up as a publisher, get a publishing consultant to come on board, put things in place. So while you are publishing other books, the books you're publishing for others will pay the bills to help you get published if you have other books to publish. Thank you very much for listening. I see you have a couple of questions.
Very much, Mrs. Esther. That was you finished strong. You said if you've published more than 3 books, you should be a publisher. You should have a consultant on board, and you should get this running. So it suffices to say that on this platform, we have several publishers already existed. That was phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was
Yes.
glued from the beginning to the very end. And
Thank
believe
you.
you me, I'm a critic. I tell you that, what am I going to gain from this class? I'm not going to pay attention. And for me to say I was here all through, that gives kudos to the work that you have done. Your experience has definitely shown through
Thank you,
what you've
ma'am.
said, and you said a lot of very valuable points. One of the highlights of your conversation to me was when you said, not, okay, I'm getting a background noise, so I'm just going to mute you for a minute. You said not everything will work in Nigeria. So I want us all to take that away from us. Whatever it is you're trying to achieve, not everything will work in Nigeria. You also mentioned the fact that you may want to consider writing books that will sell. So we may also consider that as part of your strategy. If you're in the house and you're thinking, I want to write a book, what do you want to write about? Do you want to write a book that will sell? Do you want to write a book after your own heart, or do you want to write a book that's going to tell a story that will live for a lifetime to come? Thank you very much. Please, we're running short of time, but of course it was a brilliant workshop. So I want to expect that some people will have questions. I'm going to allow participants to raise up their hands if they have a question. And in that order, I'm going to unmute you so that you can actually talk to the speaker. Please don't unmute yourself and begin to talk over us. Let us make it orderly. And so if you have any question, I think there's some questions in the chat room too. I may. Let me see if I can find any question that you can. You also mentioned, you also answered some questions in the chat room when you were giving your workshop, which was a brilliant one for us. Okay, that's not a question. That's an introduction. Thank you. Please just drop your introduction in the chat room because we're short of time, so we won't be going back to that. Toya said, for children, physical books are still most relevant, and a child being able to turn the page of a book is a developmental milestone. Absolutely, we agree with you. Chinyere said, I like the audiovisual trend, jumping on it soon. Chinyere, I am there with you. I'm absolutely on that train with you. So maybe like you, I may need Mrs. Esther's number so we can give you a call, possibly bring some business your way, and of course expect an ACAIN discount. We're coming to you soon. Be kind to us. Definitely audiovisual, says Irene. Audio books relevant in children's market as well as just young adult fiction. I think you said something about that. If you want to just say something on it for a minute again, in response to that question from Irene, we will appreciate it. I'm going to unmute you, ask to unmute, please unmute yourself and give a succinct reply to Irene. Thank you.
Okay, so very briefly, as I said, audiobooks are relevant in the children's market, and not just young adult fiction. So yes, whatever age, as long as this person can begin to listen, audiobooks are fine. But as I mentioned before, be sure to mix your audios with visuals. If they are for kids, they need audio visuals, or the books and the audio. They need those to go together. But from teenagers, they can get lost in whatever you're creating for them.
I agree with you.
For children, need to both. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Please, could you list three of your top self-publishing platforms? 3 self-publishing platforms that you know.
Okay, so number 1 is always Amazon. Amazon Kindle direct publishing.
Take that to the bank.
That's number 1. Yes, because you can't escape from the kind of the reach they have. They are everywhere. Amazon has got it. So number 1 is Amazon KDP. Number 2, I would say, is Kobo Books. Kobo Books is another, that's from Rakuten Kobo. It's also another platform that does a lot of, they have a wide range you can also use. Bring it out to Nigeria. Okada Books is very important for Nigeria platforms. You can talk about Lulu, then there's Ingram Spark, there's
Yeah.
Smashwords, there are a whole lot of them.
All right, thank you. That was a very good one. Do we have any other question in the house before we take it on to the next level of this workshop? All right. Thank you, Esther. I cannot say this enough. We are grateful for you taking time out to come and talk to us. We are also appreciative of the new insights you have contributed to us today. Audiovisual is the next thing we are jumping on that train. We are going to be championing it and we're going to be coming to you. To all our participants, please allow me to say thank you for coming and thank you for staying to the very end. Esther, have a lovely day. Thank you.